Hello friends, I'm Compassible. I'm here today to just talk a little bit about some things that I'm learning in my transition journey that I think are maybe, well, they're introspective and they might help someone else who's transgender, who's going through the process. It's very, there's a lot of introspective, there's a lot of self-evaluation, and it's a journey to better self-understanding, and it's a journey to gender exploration, obviously, but it's even deeper than that. And so, although I am not immediately getting bottom surgery, it's been on the roadmap since very early on, and I'm very much in for the experience. Like, I think that's, the way that I want to go. And, but, so it's a big deal. It's a huge expense. It's going to cost all my money, and some, I'm going to have to make payments on it for, I don't know, a couple years, which, it's a life-altering change. If it's what I want, then that's reasonable. If you explore too much, you catch an algorithm and it starts throwing suggested content at you. So I have talked to a lot of people and watched a lot of videos, and one of the things that's come up in my suggestions, and I've explored, are detransitioners. They are mostly AFAB detransitioners, AFAB meaning assigned female at birth, and at a young age they decided to transition to male, and then they decided that they weren't trans at all, that it had been a mistake, and at least one of them had top surgery, had their breasts removed surgically, and I'm sure that was, expensive, and they had to go through, therapy and all kinds of hoops to get to that. And then to discover that they really didn't feel like it was the path, like it was a wrong decision, and that it had been a phase. And they advocate for stronger gatekeeping, that someone should have stopped them. And then another time in another video, even the same person will say that no one could have stopped them, that people resisting against them would have only made them assert more that it was what they needed, and then it goes to suicide. I would have killed myself, and that argument is hard for me to assert. The phrasing is wrong. I like "give me liberty or give me death," which means give me the freedom to choose. Give me my freedom or give me death. But give me my transition or give me death sounds like well, it doesn't quite sound, it sounds a little more of a very self argument than a everyone argument, so liberty. Give me liberty. Give me the right to choose what I do. It's my body. It's my journey. If you give me that liberty, then I take responsibility for my choices, and I take responsibility for the results, right? I won't be happy unless I get to transition. If I say that, and then I transition and I'm still not happy, then liberty says that it's my responsibility, it's my fault that I wasn't happy because I didn't, and that's the tact I take with, pretty much everything I do. When I make a mistake, I want to own it, and I would like to have the opportunity to try and make it right. That's all a very big deviation. It's a little bit of a deviation from where we're going here, because when we talk about detransition, and I see that transition is not a net positive in every category. I miss being able to call my mother. Sometimes I just want to call my mom. I miss it so bad sometimes. But the society, the Christian, actually Catholic specifically society that I grew up in, that my mother has been, a lifetime of indoctrination into, does not accept transition as a real thing, as a real option. And my mother cannot cope with, I don't think that my mother doesn't love me. I just don't think that my mother is capable of accepting this part of my life and my journey. She's ashamed of me. To her, it is so shameful that I would change gender, that I am a transgender woman. She cringes. She can't cope. It's too much for her. And it's very invalidating when she says that, that she won't acknowledge my pronouns, that she doesn't want to use my chosen name. It's just, the relationship is harmed a lot. And I had to separate myself from that relationship. It was toxic, not just for me, but me coming around and confronting her repeatedly with that was not growth. It was just toxic. It was harming her. And I had to walk away for both of our own good and give her whatever time she needs to come to terms with it or find new understanding of it, if ever. Maybe never. Probably never. I don't know. But I miss my mom. It's a real negative. And I don't like that. I'm never gonna like that. All the transition in the world, it won't matter. Me passing better won't matter. Maybe it will. Maybe she'll understand if I pass better. I don't think. Surgeries, I don't think they will help my mother. No next level of transition is going to make my mother more accepting of this process. And I have to be aware of that. Like, I had to come to terms with that. I'm not going to detransition so that my mother can accept me again. I'm not. It's not going to happen. So there's not a reason for me to detransition. I'm not going to pretend to be something that I don't feel is really true to myself for my mother's sake. I have seen people do that, and I can understand why that would be a decision for some people. If my younger brother, who helps care for my mother and father, were ever to pass away unexpectedly, he's younger than me, but he provides a lot of care for my father, who is ill, and he lives with my mother, and he is very unaccepting, so he does not help my mother. Anyways, if he were to pass suddenly, and my mother were alone and frightened and called upon me, I would tone it down for the sake of my mother. I would delay my transition. I hope that never happens. It'll be like putting my life on hold, wow. I hope that never happens, And I don't expect my brother to ever come around. We are not on, I refuse to see him. We had a fist fight last I saw him, and he beat me. And he beat me like I was a man, and it hurt a lot. I was very not well after being beaten. This is not to bash my brother. They don't accept it. They can't accept it. Won't accept it. I don't care if they do. But if he were out of the picture, my mother would be in a different position, a different mindset. I would step up to be the child again who cares for their elderly parent. That was really long. Okay, we're moving on to the topic of detransition and what are reasons that a person would detransition. My children, I do have children. My son is 18, my daughter is 11, and I do not have custody of them right now. Actually, there's no legal custody agreement one way or the other, so there's no reason why I couldn't see them, except that it's complicated with their other parent. We do not talk, they do not like me, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I am transgender. Or it does, but it's not something we ever discussed when we were together. It's something that I chose to embark upon once we were separated for some time, actually. So it is a separate, transgender is a separate journey. So my children are not, I've never discussed being transgender with my children. I don't even know if they know or what they've been told. I don't know. The only time that I ever feel shame that I feel is if I imagine that my children are ashamed of me as their parent because I'm transgender. That makes me feel, that's a very awful feeling to have to confront. Would I detransition for the benefit of my children? Yes, if I thought it actually benefited them. Would I do it just to make their lives, just so they didn't have to confront the reality of a transgender person in the world? No. If they were ashamed of me, I would hate that. But I think they're young and they should grow. They should consider the fact that, like, some people have transgender parents, and it's something that you should be willing to accept, and it's not hurtful to you, and it's not a bad thing, you know? Like, learn to live with it. That'll be healthy for them. So that's not a reason to transition. And if I could have my children back in my life by detransitioning, like if giving up my transition would get my children back into my life, I would do that. There's no more explanation needed. But it really wouldn't change things with the relationship with their other parent, and or with, you know, the complexities that prevent me from being in their lives right now would not change by me transitioning. So it's not a thing. But like, if that was a deal, like, okay, you detransition and then you can have your children back in your life in a real and meaningful way for you and for them, there's no question, I'd do it, you know. So, moving on. Not an option anyway, so we're not worried about it. Because I love my children more than I love myself. I think parents can understand that. If you're not a parent, I think you might still be able to understand that. Is my children mean more to me than anything, you know, and so, yeah. What would I get out of detransitioning at all? I mean, I'm kind of happy living as a woman. My life is okay. I don't know that it would be very much different. One of the things that I very much I like my emotional balance on hormone replacement therapy. I have ups and downs. I do get mood swings occasionally. I do feel sad. I cry sometimes, but it's better. It's better than testosterone. I don't like testosterone, or maybe I only like a very small amount. But growing up, I had horrible mood swings. It was awful. I hated it. And when I wasn't down and when I was up, that was good. But I don't think that it was testosterone that did some of those things. But I wasn't able to emote properly, and then it would just fester in a horrible way. And I wasn't able to relate to people in the same ways that I am. In almost an unspoken sort of the connection that I have with other women, the platonic friends who are female, I'm able to make a connection with them, and I don't know if that's hormonal, but I think maybe like the fact that I am female hormonally, so they can smell that I'm female. They can sense in my general makeup that I am female, and therefore we can connect at a different level. It is so good, you know. And I get invited to like female events, like we're having brunch, a group of women, would you like to come? Like, oh my God, yes. And when I go, it's so great, like I get included. And they recognize that I'm female, and wow, is that amazing. And it feels so good to have that connection with other women, you know. And okay, so one of the things that I give up with the lower testosterone. So in order to lower my testosterone, one of my hormone replacement therapy medications is spironolactone, and I take very little of it actually, and I have low testosterone with very little of it. If I take too much, I get dizzy, and I get forgetful and things. I think maybe, well anyways, it seems to work really well at lowering my testosterone. But another effect of spironolactone is that it shrinks the prostate. And so the prostate is on assigned male at birth bodies, one of the erogenous zones, and so butt sex, it's just not as good. Not as good. It's not as easy to get aroused. So, like, yeah, if I didn't lower my testosterone, I would be able to enjoy that kind of sex more. And I would be able to probably get more erection, and or like a longer erection, greater duration of an erection, and those things would be nice, you know. So if I detransitioned and let my testosterone climb back into a male range, I would probably enjoy sex more in a physical stimulation sort of way, but I still really enjoy sex, just not in those particular ways. So not a reason, I mean, it's in the pro-con category, you know, but it's not, by itself, no way. And another thing about testosterone levels is I can kind of gauge my testosterone level by how I feel and by how I'm taking my medications and that type of thing. And when my testosterone is high, when I slack off on because for a while there I was slacking off on my spironolactone a lot because I was having really bad dizziness upon standing. And so I was trying to like taper off the spironolactone to see like how low I had to go with it where I wasn't getting dizzy spells all day, because it was really tough to function at all with that dizziness. And it's definitely the spironolactone. I'm just real sensitive to it in that way. So I had lowered it to the point where I kind of stopped taking it for a while, and my testosterone sort of went back up. And so it became very apparent that my testosterone was high compared to what it had been. And, you know, I could even notice that the hair was growing a little bit darker. The new growth in the hair was on different parts of my body and on my face was darker than it had been. This is only after a couple of weeks of less spironolactone. And I immediately perceived, but also recalled from before I started hormone replacement therapy, the yearning for sexual gratification. Specifically, like I wanted to have sex really, really bad. And when I couldn't, I would feel horrible. You know, like when there was no partner apparent, it felt awful. And I hate that. I can never go back to that. Never. I couldn't live with it. I could never detransition. Now that I know what the difference is, I could never detransition into a person who has that amount of testosterone. I can't do it. I can't do it. You know, I remember, you know, when I was young, before I hit puberty, and yeah, that was better. It was better then, and it's better now. And then when puberty hit and that like hunger for, you know, physical sexual gratification, it's horrible. And it has such terrible repercussions when like it's punishing to desire something that you can't have that much. It led to some really terrible decision making. It led to just like thought patterns that were just unhealthy about who I thought I was. It was bad. No, I don't ever want to do that. Never. I'll never detransition to that. No, you can't make me. I will cut them off. Give me liberty or give me death. I will remove them myself before I will let the testosterone engines back into free to do what they want to do, because they will make me ill, mentally ill, and I don't want to do that. A little testosterone is nice without any testosterone, because like when I take the amount of spironolactone that I'm prescribed, my testosterone drops below 15, sometimes near 0, like 3 or whatever. And I don't know what even the thing is on that. It's supposed to be like 500. And cis women typically between 30 and 50, so it'll drop, to the almost undetectable levels. And at those levels, with no testosterone at all, the thought of physical sex is kind of gross. Like, it's just, there's no drive. There's zero drive. But there's also, and there's just no desire. I'm like squeamish about the idea of it, which is not like me, so there's still some kind of balance to it that needs to be considered, and we're working on that. That's a process, because I think the other thing is when you're used to one thing and you go to the extreme opposite end, there's a period of adjustment till it's the new normal. And so, that's why transition takes years. Mentally, emotionally, and physically, transition takes years. Honestly, in a couple of days, I was like, yes, hormone replacement therapy is going to be a good thing for me. And at a couple of months, I'm like, yeah, I still want to keep doing this. I like this. At each stage of the game, I, at regular intervals, I check in, with my therapist, but also definitely with myself about how do I feel about what's going on? Where am I at in the process, and is this what I want? One of the big things that I did at a year was had vocal surgery, gender-affirming vocal surgery. And it cost a substantial amount of money. It was expensive. The insurance doesn't cover it. I had to pay out of pocket, take some, a loan out for it. And, obviously it's not something that can be undone. And it was, you can't get your money back. And, I felt firmly that I was confident that I was going to continue with my transition, and that this was going to be a good thing that I liked. And let me tell you, I began to pass rapidly. Like, once my voice settled a little bit, because it was a month I couldn't talk, and then a few more weeks before I could really project any kind of voice. But as soon as I started to project a voice again, I passed. People would give me the double take look and almost demand that I say something, because, there's some tells, honey. I've got some tells, But even in just like, normal makeup and, regular clothing, and once I opened my mouth before the surgery, clocked. A lot. Most of the time, clocked. Oh, you're a transgender. After, people were like, oh, okay. Like, they accepted me. Whether they recognized that I was transgender or not, I passed. It was not, oh, it's a cross-dresser, or, oh, this is one of those transgender persons. It was, oh, you're a woman. So that was, I liked that. And, I do not regret it. I wish I had the money, but I would not trade it back. So it was a good decision. Continuing to check in, I'm at about 2.5 years. Just actually beyond 2.5 years now. And I don't know, I'll have to do the math. Either way, still happy about it. Still liking hormone replacement therapy. I could stop at any time. I could stop tomorrow. No one would be upset. They'd be like, oh, okay. I could say, it was a phase. And people would be like, yeah, you're nuts, but they wouldn't care. It wouldn't affect my employment or my income or my living situation. Like my roommate, they'd be like, whatever, It would change my dating pool Honestly, I might have better luck as a gay man than a transgender woman, but who knows? I mean, it wouldn't wreck anything that I've got going that well. I could still do drag if I wanted to do drag. It wouldn't change a thing. Honestly, I might be more popular on YouTube as a detransitioner. Because it seems like these detransitioners they grab the algorithm. I see their channels grow rapidly, and then they get like OnlyFans money, and boom, they're like famous, which good for them. Good for them. I don't begrudge them that, and I sure don't begrudge them like they checked in with themselves and they got to a point where they said, this is what I want to continue to do. And they overcame whatever obstacles they felt they needed to so that they could be authentic. And transition lets me be authentic. I'm being the authentic me. I'm learning how to be a transgender woman. Like, I don't have to be the most beautiful woman in the room. I don't have to have the most perfect makeup in the room. I don't have to have the most gorgeous outfit in the room, but I will. I will some days. I'm not the youngest woman in the room. I'm never going to be, and I can accept that. Although some days when I go on YouTube or Instagram, or I like to stream sometimes on Twitch, and I know some people who do OnlyFans and some other adult content, and I look at those influencers and I'm never going to be as young and beautiful as them. I'm never going to have such bright prospects for a career as them. That's okay, because I get to be authentic. I do get to be authentic, which is what I want. It's about me being me. And for anyone whose transition is about something else, is about someone else, or about some situation, or about they think they're going to be happy because they transition, but they aren't happy now. Like, if you don't know how to live a happy life, you're still going to have to learn to do that once you transition. Like, the two things are not directly the same. HRT doesn't make you happy, but hopefully it can make you feel authentic, and by being authentic makes me feel happy. And having friends and chosen family who love the authentic me and accept the authentic me, that makes me feel very happy. So I live a life that makes me happy, and transitioning has allowed me to do that better. But I think that I've learned how to do that better. I think I could be just as happy as I am now if I had to detransition. If I had to. But it would be against my will. But I would still find a way to be happy with whatever life throws at me. But this is me. This is genuinely me. This is who I like to show the world. This is who I want the world to know. And I hope you got something out of that. I think some of it was coherent. I love you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to grow my channel. If you haven't already, it means a lot. Every like means a lot. New subscriptions, like, they come like 1 or 2 at a time. Like, every person who subscribes, I check out their channel and see what they're about. And like, I try and make friends with them on other social media and stuff like that. Like, I really care about my subscribers, and I try to, have a community, a supportive and loving community, queer community, because yeah, it's my family, because I don't have the other stuff. And anyways, please like and subscribe. And the content, it's mixed. It's really different. I'm sorry if I throw something at you that you just don't like. Just click away. It's cool. I get it. I don't expect every video I make to get like a lot of viewership. Sometimes I make things that are only for some people, and I hope that's okay with you. It's what I do, you know. When I do the home improvement stuff, it's just because like I want to practice having the camera on there and going through the process, you know. And sometimes it's like I'm using all my energy to do that project. If I don't record that, like I might not record anything that week, and I don't want to like leave people in the dark and let the channel just like die. You know, like I want to continue to make content and be in touch with people who are, you know, are kind enough and supportive enough to be part of the channel. So I'm going to continue to do things, and it's going to be like all over the map for a little while until I'm more situated. But as the winter is setting in, it's like 50 degrees outside today, so like I'm not doing anything outside. It won't be long before I'm in the house a lot with not much to do, and hopefully I can create you some content. Let me know in the comments if you've watched to the end, if there's something you'd like to see, if there's a question you have, please post it. If you want to meet me on my other social media, I will leave you links for that kind of stuff, and we can get to know each other better. And thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.